year, contender proved that while Chimaev was human, he possessed the elite durability and championship will to survive a world-class veteran and win a high-level brawl. On October 26, 2024, at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi, Khamzat Chimaev delivered one of the most violent and shocking performances in middleweight history against the legendary former champion Robert Whittaker. From the opening seconds, Chimaev displayed his terrifying grappling speed, shooting for a takedown immediately and dragging Whittaker to the canvas before the Australian could land a single significant strike. Chimaev's pressure was relentless as he transitioned to the back and locked in a devastating face crank that was so powerful it caused an immediate, visible injury to Whittaker's jaw. The former champion was forced to tap instantly at the 3:34 mark of round 1, marking the first time in his long career that he had been submitted. This win not only kept Chimaev's perfect record intact at 14-0 but also sent a chilling message to the entire 185-pound division, as he became the first person to dismantle the Reaper with such effortless and brutal efficiency. On February 1, 2026, at UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev reached the summit of the sport by defeating Dricus du Plessis to become the new undisputed middleweight champion of the world. In a clash of two undefeated physical powerhouses, the fight began with an explosive intensity as Chimaev looked to implement his signature wrestling, while du Plessis utilized his awkward, powerful striking to hold the center. Unlike previous opponents, du Plessis showed incredible strength in the clinch, surviving early takedown attempts and landing heavy leg kicks that tested Chimaev's endurance. However, the momentum shifted in the championship rounds as Chimaev's superior grappling chain wrestling began to wear down the champion. In a climactic scramble, Chimaev transitioned to a dominant position and secured a brutal submission victory, forcing the tap and ending the reign of the South African champion. This victory solidified Borz as a two-division threat and a pound-for-pound king, proving that his elite wrestling could conquer even the most physically imposing champions in the division. On February 1, 2026, at UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev reached the summit of the sport by defeating Dricus du Plessis to become the new undisputed middleweight champion of the world. In a clash of two undefeated physical powerhouses, the fight began with an explosive intensity as Chimaev looked to implement his signature wrestling, while du Plessis utilized his awkward, powerful striking to hold the center. Unlike previous opponents, du Plessis showed incredible strength in the clinch, surviving early takedown attempts and landing heavy leg kicks that tested Chimaev's endurance. However, the momentum shifted in the championship rounds as Chimaev's superior grappling chain wrestling began to wear down the champion. In a climactic scramble, Chimaev transitioned to a dominant position and secured a brutal submission victory, forcing the tap and ending the reign of the South African champion. This victory solidified Borz as a two-division threat and a pound-for-pound king, proving that his elite wrestling could conquer even the most physically imposing champions in the division. On October 21, 2023, at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi, Khamzat Chimaev faced his toughest test to date against the legendary former pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman. Taking the fight on just 10 days' notice following an injury to Paulo Costa, Usman stepped up to middleweight to face the undefeated Borz in a high-stakes title eliminator. Chimaev started the fight with terrifying intensity, immediately taking Usman down and spending nearly the entire first round on his back, threatening submissions and landing heavy ground and pound in a dominant 10-8 opening frame. However, the veteran Usman displayed incredible composure and championship grit, slowing Chimaev down in the second and third rounds with crisp boxing and elite takedown defense. The final round saw both men trading heavy shots in the center of the octagon as the crowd roared. Ultimately, Chimaev's early dominance earned him a majority decision victory, 29-27, 29-27, and 28-28. This win proved that Chimaev could go the distance with an all-time great and officially positioned him as the next in line for the middleweight championship. On September 19, 2020, at UFC Fight Night 178, Khamzat Chimaev delivered one of the most clinical and terrifying knockouts in UFC history against the seasoned submission specialist Gerald Meerschaert. Entering the bout with immense hype after his historic Fight Island debut, Chimaev walked into the center of the octagon with absolute confidence. While many expected him to rely on his world-class wrestling, Chimaev instead showcased his frightening, one-punch, power. Just 17 seconds into the first round, Borz landed a single, devastating straight right hand that sent Meerschaert crashing to the canvas, unconscious before he even hit the floor. The referee stepped in immediately, ending the contest with the very first punch Chimaev threw. This spectacular performance earned him his third performance of the night bonus in as many fights and cemented his reputation as a generational talent who could finish elite veterans with either a takedown or a single strike. On September 10, 2022, at UFC 279, Khamzat Chimaev produced a performance that was as controversial as it was dominant against the dangerous striker Kevin Holland. After a chaotic weigh-in where Chimaev missed weight, forcing a last-minute shuffle of the entire main card, the two were matched in a 180-pound catch-weight bout. From the opening second, Chimaev lunged across the cage with a relentless wrestling assault, never allowing Holland a moment to breathe or find his range. In a display of pure grappling superiority, Chimaev chain-wrestled through Holland's scrambles, eventually securing a deep Darce choke. Holland was forced to tap at just 2:13 of the first round. Remarkably, Chimaev finished the fight without absorbing a single significant strike, a feat he has achieved multiple times in his career. This victory silenced the boos of the Las Vegas crowd and served as a chilling reminder that, despite the outside-the-cage drama, Chimaev remained the most terrifying force in the promotion. On April 19, 2019, at Brave CF23 in Amman, Jordan, Khamzat Chimaev faced what was widely considered his most dangerous test outside the UFC against fellow undefeated prospect Ikram Aliskerov. Both fighters entered the cage with perfect 5-0 records and elite sambo backgrounds, leading many to predict a grueling grappling stalemate. However, Chimaev shocked the MMA world by showcasing his terrifying striking development. Early in the first round, after a brief feeling-out process where Aliskerov showed respect for Khamzat's power, Chimaev uncorked a perfectly timed uppercut that landed flush on Aliskerov's chin. The impact was instantaneous, sending Aliskerov crashing to the canvas unconscious at the 2:26 mark. This remains the only knockout loss on Aliskerov's professional record and served as the definitive, coming-out party, for Chimaev, proving that he wasn't just a wrestler, but a lethal knockout artist destined for the global stage. On July 26, 2020, at UFC on ESPN 14 on Fight Island, Khamzat Chimaev made history by completing the quickest turnaround between two wins in the modern era. Just 10 days after his dominant debut against John Phillips, Chimaev stepped up to the welterweight division to face the highly touted Irish prospect Rhys McKee. The bout was even more lopsided than his first. Chimaev immediately drove McKee to the fence, picked him up, and slammed him to the mat. For the next 3 minutes, Chimaev unleashed a terrifying and relentless barrage of ground and pound, transitioning smoothly between positions while McKee was left completely unable to find an escape. The referee was forced to stop the massacre at 3:09 of the first round. Chimaev outlanded McKee by a staggering 68 strikes to 0, proving that he was a physical anomaly and a generational talent capable of dominating multiple weight classes on back-to-back weeks.